Hi, I'm going to take a few minutes to go over the gerund or present participle worksheet. In class, it's really hard to film the screen, so I'm just doing this separately. So just to remind you of the instructions, we were looking at ing forms, verbals that end in ing. We weren't really looking at ed, although participles can. And you were supposed to underline and determine whether they were a participle or a gerund. Okay, so here's the first one. So hearing a loud noise is your verbal, and it's a participle because it's describing we. Okay. Second one, this one is really hard. So originally my thoughts were fatally injured in the accident is a gerund. A participle. And fighting for his life is a participle. And both were acting as predicate adjectives. But as I revisited this, I really feel like a strong case could be made for injured as an action that's going on. So if you didn't underline injured, if you thought, well, that's just part of the verb phrase, was injured, that would be fine also. And there won't be anything that's that hard to determine on the quiz. You learn to cite by watching TV all day. That word by is a preposition, so that gives us a clue that what follows is an object of a preposition. So watching TV all day is a gerund, and it's an object of a preposition. Okay, number 4, we saw a clown standing on his head. Standing on his head is the verbal. It comes after a noun. So it's going to be most likely a participle unless it's a noun or positive. But in this case, standing on his head is describing clown. It can't replace clown, so we know it's not a noun. Therefore, because it's describing clown, it's a participle. Number 5. This one had a lot of words in it, and so I needed to go through and just identify what all the words were before I could determine what part of speech the verbals were. So your verbals that you should have underlined were asking questions and then answering them. And asking questions is the subject of this sentence, so it's a gerund. It's followed by a linking verb, and then there are some descriptive words. There's a comparison, and than is actually a conjunction. But if we take out the modifiers, which you always can in a sentence, asking questions equals answering them. They're both gerunds, okay? And I would say answering them is acting as a predicate nominative. Okay, waving their hands is describing the audience, therefore it's a participle. Plucking flowers, that comes at the very beginning of the sentence. It's clearly the subject, therefore it's a gerund. And I underlined forbidden, not that you needed to in your homework, but I did want you to see forbidden is a participle that is describing the flowers. Okay. Jumping over the fence is describing the thief, so it's a participle. Okay, I was surprised at John's being absent. Again, you want to look for prepositions. So at is a preposition. It's followed by a possessive noun, which is really an adjective. So being absent has to be the object of preposition, and it's a gerund. 10, we did not do. 11, a miser hates. So keep in mind your direct object questions. A miser hates what? Spending his money. So this is a direct object, therefore it's a gerund. Sorry about that. Next one, John was angry at Alice, trying to lie to her. I think that should say him. But that's describing Alice. If it comes right after a noun, again, it could be a noun, a positive. But trying to lie to her could not replace Alice. It's not equal to Alice. So it has to be a participle. It's describing Alice. And then this is another one that praising all alike. That's at the beginning, so it's the subject. It's the subject, it's the gerund. You have a linking verb. And so what comes after has got to be a predicate adjective or predicate noun. And in this case, it's a predicate nominative. I could switch these. Praising none is praising all alike. So either way, they are equivalent statements. They're both gerunds. And then 14, look for that preposition of. If there's a preposition, what follows is the object of a preposition. So speaking the truth is a gerund. And then 15, at the beginning of the sentence is just probably the easiest thing because it clearly has to be the subject, so it's a gerund. Okay, let me show you about diagramming these. So 1, find your sentence skeleton. We ran, and then the participle is going to come off of the noun or pronoun. This is a pronoun that it modifies. Big picture, this whole thing is a participle, it's an adjective. But when we diagram the parts, we think, oh, this is a verb. So what do we ask after a verb? Hearing what? Hearing noise, so that's a direct object. And then what kind of noise? A loud noise. And then to the window is an adverbial prepositional phrase. Okay, over here, we saw who or what, clown. Okay, and then which clown did we see? We saw the clown standing. So again, curvy line. And then little picture, we think this is a verb standing where, on, head, his. So this is an adverbial prepositional phrase. And then 8, your skeleton is thief escaped. There's our article, the. And then jumping over the fence describes the thief. Okay, and so, and let me just tell you, when you do participle phrases, our adjective questions really kind of break down. Participles don't easily fit. I know I'm using some of the adjective questions, but I don't want you to use that as the final litmus test because sometimes they don't, like jumping over the fence. To me, it answers the question how. But we can't have participle phrases that are adverbial. It's right next to a noun. It's clearly a adjective because it's a participle. Okay, I hope that helps you guys. You can reach out to me with questions.